Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Small Beez podcast, brought to you by New Step for You and Central County's Tourism. On this podcast, we will be spotlighting local businesses and highlighting the importance of mental health and well-being. I'm sure we've all felt lonely and sad at one point or another after being locked at home for almost 2 years. The pandemic has definitely taken its toll and had some serious consequences on us all. Throughout 2020, statistics showed that there were significant concerns over the declining mental well-being of Canadians. These issues were only exacerbated by the extended length of the pandemic, depriving us of all mental health essentials. Maintaining social connection and staying active has been especially difficult with the many restrictions placed on us during the pandemic. However, as daily cases trend downwards and vaccine rollouts improve, everything is slowly returning to normal. While the mental health of Canadians was tested during the pandemic, the resilience of small businesses in Canada were also put to the test. Despite the dire circumstances and the odds stacked against them, businesses remained positive, with 76% of them confident that they would rebound after the crisis. Supporting small local businesses is an important part of helping your local community and is also a great way to enjoy yourself, get social, and improve your mental well-being. For our second ever episode, I'd like to introduce Whetstone Goods, an online custom map print and home goods store. You can find them on Etsy and Instagram if you're interested after listening to this episode, and trust me, you will want to check them out. Joining us today from Whetstone Goods is Michelle Likely, the founder and owner of Whetstone Goods. She was a great guest with lots of knowledge of local areas and fun spots to visit. Now, let's get into the interview portion of the podcast. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Small Beez Spotlight, which focuses on highlighting local businesses in York, Durham, and Headwaters regions and promoting tourism and mental health. Welcome back for our second ever episode. I'm Alex here from New Step for You, and today I'm excited to introduce our guest for this episode, Michelle from Whetstone Goods.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle. All right, just to continue on a bit, New Step for You is a nonprofit organization that focuses on a variety of expressive art programs, using tools such as 3D pens, virtual reality, mixed media, dance, and music, to name a few. These are all designed to relieve stress, increase self-esteem, inspire creativity, and improve the well-being of different ages, from youngsters to seniors. We believe that art is a simple solution to happiness and well-being, and it doesn't matter what way you choose. At New Step for You, we encourage exploring creativity, connecting with your inner self, and taking some time for self-care. So now let's get into the questions. So I was just wondering, Michelle, so what is Whetstone Goods exactly, and what do you do for our listeners that aren't really familiar with you?
Yeah, for sure. So Whetstone Goods is a small business I started this year. Initially creating custom map prints of cottages or neighborhoods or lakes. And since then, I've expanded into a few series. One is a brewery tour series that highlights local places to eat and drink in your area to encourage people to get out there and shop in their communities. And secondly, I started a Canada Parks series because I think also people have been going outdoors and enjoying all the beautiful parks in Canada. And so I wanted to celebrate that.
Sounds great as an idea to promote small businesses, especially in such a tough time with COVID. And I love that. That's an initiative that you want to take on with your brewery tourism and maps. And just as a follow-up question, I was wondering, where can our listeners find you? I think you mentioned you don't have a physical storefront, but what platforms are you on for people that are interested?
Yeah, so I'm on Etsy at Whetstone Goods, and also do a lot of stuff on Instagram as well. So those are kind of the two digital realms where my business exists.
That's great. So I was wondering, what is something unique about maps from Whetstone Goods compared to other map printing businesses, or just other standard maps that you would find at any store or something like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that they're fully customizable. So a lot of people have places in their area that are really special to them. And because it's just me and because I'm a small business, I actually can work with each person to design a map that reflects the places that are most special to them. Even a lot of Airbnbs I've been working with that have, they want to help their guests get out there and they want something a little bit more engaging than kind of a list that they print out. And so it's a great way to show all of the different local shops around a specific rental for people who are new in the area.
I've got an Airbnb that sounds really great. I feel like if I had one of those, it'd be a great way. I wouldn't even have to plan anything. I would just show up and follow them up. Sounds
Yeah, well, a lot of them you'll find they have a binder with stuff they printed out, which is awesome. But I really love the idea of having a beautiful print of your area and being able to highlight your 10 top places to go. So that's been really fun.
That's great. I think you mentioned that you just started Whetstone Goods this year. So I was wondering what's like the history behind Whetstone Goods and what was your like initial inspiration for starting your business?
Yeah, so it was really, I never really thought of myself as someone who could run a business while working full time. I always looked at those kind of people and I was like, I don't know how they do it. But I had a little bit of time off in between jobs. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was um, make a map for my mom of our cottage lake. We've been spending a ton of time up there this year. And we've got a lot of special spots that we always refer to as a family. So I was looking for maps just from stores and couldn't find any. So I decided to kind of spend an afternoon on YouTube and teach myself how to make a map. And I really loved it. And she really loved it. I was really excited about it. So then I made one for all of my friends. So now all of them have a map in their house. And then I wanted to keep going. So I thought I would try to start an Instagram and see if anybody else wanted a map of their neighborhood or their lake. And it's really just grown from there, which has been really exciting.
Sounds great. I was just wondering, what was like the inspiration behind like the name Whetstone Goods? Was there like any meaning for that, or like what was the
Yeah,
thought?
so our family cottage is called Whetstone. And so that was the first map that I made. So it inspired the name of the company.
I love it. It like ties right back to the roots. I guess you're just like reminded every time. Yeah. So a new step for you, we're focused on like improving mental health by using arts, like I mentioned in the introduction. So you mentioned that like you like went on YouTube or something. So like in terms of what you do, how do you like create the design and like customize the maps for like any map that you want to make, or when you're customizing them for people that are interested? So I was wondering if you had like any artistic background or like what's sort of like design aspects to creating a map.
Yeah, so I don't have a real artistic background. I think I've always been interested in design and graphics and feel like I have an eye for it. But yeah, when I went on YouTube, I watched a ton of different tutorials, and there's lots of different ways to do it. Some are a bit more time intensive, but the way that I learned to do it was there's a program that developers use to make the maps that they put on like Uber Eats or any kind of app that has any sort of map. And what it is, it's connected to Google Maps in the back end. And so essentially it's like a platform where you can take Google Maps and take off the labels, add colors, and change the look of the map itself. And then you kind of take that and export it into Illustrator. And then you can add, little locations or titles, and you can kind of finish off the design there.
That's so cool.
It's
So
been fun.
yeah, I guess I've seen on Etsy that you like your tag is like handmade. So it's every single like map print just like done by you and just like handmade by you in terms of like
Yeah.
design.
Yeah, so I do the design. I don't have access to like a big enough printer to print everything myself. So I do work with a Canadian printer who I send the design off to them, and then they print it where they have access to like all these great printers, and then they send it to customers. So
Yeah,
it's good because also because I work full time, I'm really happy to not have a business where I'm managing inventory and doing all of that that requires. We don't have that much space. So it's been nice to be able to work with a printing partner that enables me to really focus on the design part versus the printing.
yeah, for sure that makes sense. And it's great to hear that you're also using like Canadian printers. Cool to hear that supporting
Yeah.
local businesses and things like that. And I guess with the customizability of like all your maps, I'm guessing there's like a lot of different like applications. But other than like the Airbnb that you mentioned, what type of people do you usually find are the ones that are interested in like getting their map?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who want a map for their own house or their own cottage. It's also been a really good wedding or engagement gift. So I've done a lot of maps that highlight the place someone got married or highlight where they got engaged. Um, Also ones where there's families and they all live in separate parts of the country. And so making a map that goes to each member of the family that shows where everybody is. The Airbnb ones, I've done a few for hotels in a similar way of like them showing off all of the things in their area. What else? Yeah, there's ones with the all of the Canada Parks maps. I've been doing a lot that trace people's camping routes. So here's all the places that we camped, or here's the place we saw a moose or something, like just memories. Because yeah, I think there's something really special to like actually see the place where something happened. Um, and yeah, I think a lot of people have typically done, like you get like a basic map and then you do push pins. But one thing I like about these maps is that they actually look really, really nice in your house too. They're not just the function of a map, they're also like aesthetically quite nice.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like if you have like too many push pins, it just looks like you're trying to solve a crime or something.
Yeah,
With like
totally.
strings. But yeah, it's so great that you mentioned that. Like I didn't realize with like the moose and things like that. I feel like each of your maps probably have like a lot of like meaning to whoever's getting it. So that's really great.
Yeah, it's really sweet. And I think also too, like the nature of, I guess, being Canadian is that like you do have a lot of family abroad or people in your family who come from away. So yeah, so also a lot of gifts that people are giving to their parents that show, you know, their hometown in Russia or where they grew up in Argentina. And I really, really love doing those international maps because the actual streetscapes are so different in different countries. I just did one for Tehran in Iran, and like you wouldn't believe how different it looks, and it's really fun. I think just for me as like a way to get to know other cities and what they might look like.
Yeah, for sure. That does sound really interesting. I was just wondering, how many custom prints do you yourself have? And like where do you like have them in your house? If you do
Oh,
have
in my house, well, we have like 4 at my cottage because all different colors and sizes. And then I think I just have, well, I have one at my house for our neighborhood. And then I also, my husband and I are very into bird watching. That's a COVID hobby. And so there's also another type of print that I do it's not map based. It actually is like the colors of different birds. And so I have a few of those at my house too.
That's cool. I didn't realize you also did other printing. That's really interesting. Do you know where like where do you have the first map that you like? Is that one also just like at your cottage?
Yeah, that one's at the cottage right near right when you enter the cottage, it's there. And yeah, that one's really fun because it has all these places marked off on the map that are like special to our family. So where people got engaged on the lake or, you know, the furthest place we've ever camped from our cottage. So it's got a lot of really like sentimental places marked on it, which is nice.
Sure, that's great. You just mentioned that like bird watching was one of your hobbies. So I was just wondering, what are some of like the other hobbies and activities that you've been doing to like relax and like stay kind of sane during this like super long pandemic?
Well, honestly, bird watching is a big one. And I always talk to people about what I think are like the real mental health benefits of an activity like that. There's a really great book, if anybody's interested, called How to Do Nothing. And it talks about like how we can unhook from the attention economy that's always like asking for our attention and monetizing it. And something that she talks about in that book that I thought was really interesting was how birding played a similar role for her, where it actually asks you to be like really present, to be like listening and like really engaged in your senses. And I think those things are really great, especially in like a really stressful time. But we've also done a lot of hiking and camping. I think for me, just being outdoors is like the biggest thing that I can do to make me feel calm and reconnected with the things that really matter. So lots of that, lots of cooking. And I think all of these things are kind of similar in the way that like they are kind of inviting you to use your senses. And I think when we're sitting at a computer, we don't really use all of our senses. And so anything that you can do with your hands or anything that you can smell that's different or taste can really help like bring it all back down to earth.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you mentioned like hiking and bird watching. So I was thinking like with outdoors, for any of our listeners that are like interested, I think an excellent idea you could maybe have is to look at one of Michelle's like potential maps and use that as maybe like a bucket list if you're looking for activities to do
Yeah.
outside your house.
I
Just something.
actually just received today. I've been working on a print for a long time that highlights all of Ontario's provincial parks. So it's like 112 of them on there. So that's a really fun one that I'm really excited about. That will come in the next couple of weeks where, yeah, you could get the print and see how many of the provincial parks you've been to, and then also make plans for going on some adventures and hiking or canoeing or camping in as many as you can.
Definitely really exciting. I didn't realize we had 112. That's like a really big number.
Yeah, I think there's actually like 340. So
Wow.
initially, when someone asked me to make it, I was like, there's no way I can do that.
Hmm.
But I chose like a subset of them that are like regularly serviced. So they're
Hmm.
like the more kind of popular ones. But yeah, there's a ton. There's so many places to go hiking or just like be outside in Ontario.
And that's all in Ontario, you said? Like all 340?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know there's a lot. And there's also, I did a print that highlights like waterfalls in Ontario.
Ooh.
So that's another one that you could use. I think that one I just put 16 on there because I didn't want to get too crazy, but there are a lot of waterfalls.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's another one that's like an idea that could inspire you to spend a few weekends of your summer going and checking off different waterfalls.
Sure. One of the maps that like caught my eye personally was like the Durham Region Brewery Tour map, especially with three counties are sponsored being like promoting Durham. So I was wondering if you yourself have been to like any or like all of these breweries and which ones like in particular you recommend off that list.
Oh, well, I have not been out yet because I made the
Mhm.
print recently, but I definitely want to go. And I must say that like I've been in touch with a lot of the breweries on that map
Yeah.
because whenever I release a new tour map, I always just message the breweries to say, hey, like you're on this map, and if it's something that you want to share with your audience. But so New Ritual is a pretty new brewery, and they've been amazing. They were so kind to me and so supportive. So I definitely recommend them. But honestly, all of these breweries on the Durham region map, like they're all small businesses. They're all people who care a lot about what they do. And I think it is a really fun idea to go out there and instead of going to the LCBO and kind of buying a Corona, to actually go to a place that means a lot to someone and that they've poured a lot of themselves into.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree that there's like something special about like not just the taste, but just like the whole atmosphere of going to like one of those local breweries.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that really struck me about the Durham print was just how supportive all of those breweries are of each other as well. Like it's not like you might think, oh, like they're all in competition, but really they were all celebrating like how far the region has come in terms of like a destination for craft beer. So I think that's also pretty fun.
Amazing.
And yeah, I have a friend who I met through the business who bought the Durham tour, and she's actually collecting a glass from each brewery. So she recently shared a photo on Instagram that I saw that I was like very excited about, where I think she's done them all now, and she has like this beautiful set of all of the pint glasses from all of these breweries. So that's a fun idea too. Or collecting the coasters from different breweries. I think honestly, we've just spent so much time inside this past year that getting out there and going and supporting local businesses just feels like a very win-win situation.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's definitely like really rewarding to get to see like the excitement or like being able to actually like interact with people you know who like care a lot about their business. I think it's really special.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And I did another tour map that highlights cottage country, so kind of like north of Toronto, Muskoka region. And that was great too. And a lot of those breweries ended up wanting to sell the maps at their retail store. So I had a fun weekend where I took a big road trip and visited all those breweries. And again, everyone's just been so amazing and so supportive. So it's been a really great experience.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. Another map that like kind of caught my eye was like the Kawartha Lakes map that you made. Or I was wondering like out of all the like different lake and cottage maps, what's your favorite place that you've been that you've made a map for that you're selling now?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, I did a Georgian Bay one that I really loved because Georgian Bay is just like so interesting and there's so many islands. And so that's a really fun one. And I really like that one. And then also I do have like a lot of customers who live in Kawartha Lakes area or Fenelon Falls. And some of the very first, I think one of the first, like my fourth customer or something, he was from Fenelon Falls. And so that's a beautiful print that I really love.
So, so have you been to like most of the places that you have maps for, or are some of them just like customer requests? Like in terms of the ones that you're selling on Etsy, I guess.
Yeah, some of them are definitely customer requests.
Oh, I see, I see.
And so, yeah, I would say like a lot of them inspire me to go out there and visit, but definitely I've made maps for places I haven't been.
I
Um,
see.
and would love to go.
That's cool. I was wondering, like you mentioned that a lot of the maps that you make are custom. So what's like the craziest or like most interesting like custom map print that you've gotten as a request before?
I don't know. I think there's been some cool ones that have been like in small places in like Russia or just like places where I never would have expected to be sending a map to. So that those ones are really exciting. And then I've had a few like bigger commissions that have been, I think, like really pushed myself. And so one of them was a Georgian Bay one, where someone wanted to label all of the islands, which is truly like hundreds and hundreds of islands. So that was that was a big challenge, but really fun. And now I'm like, oh, I need to get on a boat and like start going to these islands because there's so much to explore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I noticed on your website there's some like really beautiful like product photos on the website, and like in particular, I saw like the waterfalls of Ontario print one, and like just all the like the scenery in the background. So I was wondering like, are those photos like sent in from like happy customers, or like how did you, or what was
Oh
that?
yeah, so there's like a bit of a mixed approach.
Mhm.
The waterfall ones, I took those at my cottage,
Ooh.
so that was fun. Well, because I invested in like a pretty nice camera for birding, and then it's actually turned out to be very good also for taking product photos and
Oh,
doing
for sure.
that. And so yeah, so those ones are up at my cottage with the lake in the background, which I thought was just like very beautiful. And then some of the photos too, I was finding that I was almost making designs faster than I could get the things printed and put up. And so another thing that I like, I guess it's like a secret hack, but it's like it's just a way of managing it is some of the more recent ones, I actually have taken a picture of a blank frame at my house and then like Photoshop the print design onto it, which actually has been a godsend because not every print that I make do I get physically. A lot of them I send straight to a customer, but I still want to be able to put them on the website. So that's a really good way that I can do that without just making it like a picture of the design, still giving a sense of what it might look like framed and in a house.
That's a neat life hack that you had there. Yeah, I've done something similar as well with like, yeah, just like holding frames, but it definitely does look really cool, and it gives you like a better idea of what things might actually look like, I think.
Yeah.
I guess just one more question. I was wondering, do you have anywhere that you're dying to visit now as restrictions begin to ease up, like anywhere on one of your maps that you were looking forward to, or just anywhere you wanted to visit?
Ooh, well, I actually really do want to go to Durham and to go
Mhm.
and cross off all those breweries. I think that would be really fun. And then I mean, I would love to go out west. There's some beautiful, beautiful like national parks out there
Yeah,
that
for
I've
sure.
been making maps of, and I've just been like, oh man, like going to Banff and Jasper. I think that would be so fun. And then, yeah, in a couple of weeks, actually, we're going out to the eastern townships in Quebec to do some
Mhm.
hiking. So I'm also really excited about that. But I feel like this was a good year to think about all that we have in Canada and kind of to focus on that as things have been and still are pretty unknown with international travel.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
obviously really excited to get back to international travel, but for now, really happy kind of with the encouragement to stay within Canada and celebrate all that we have here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of amazing spots to discover, like you mentioned, from like 340 different provincial parks in Ontario alone, right? So
Yeah. How
there's
about
definitely a
you?
lot
Is
of,
there anywhere you're dying to go?
not particularly, but I think like Vancouver seems a lot of fun. Like a lot of my friends have been going and they keep like posting like on their Instagrams and whatever. And I'm just like
Uh,
watching everyone and I'm getting like more jealous, like every post I
so
see.
beautiful. I
Mhm.
know. So nice.
Yeah,
Vancouver's great.
I think the Durham Region Brewery Tour that you mentioned as well is also something that I think would be really interesting for me too. But yeah, probably those two are the main things I've been looking forward to visit.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and speaking with us today. And once again, I wanted to stress the importance of everyone just maintaining their mental health and making sure to take time off of your work or off of any like stress in your life to relax, whether or not it's with a map from Michelle's Brewery Tour or just any other activities like bird watching that we mentioned today. But just remember that getting out is good for your health, and also supporting local businesses is good for the health of you and your community. So yeah, thank you again, Michelle, for coming onto the show today. And yeah, I think that concludes our second ever podcast. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks again to Michelle and Whetstone Goods for joining us on the podcast, and shout out to Central Counties Tourism for sponsoring us. If you'd like to learn more about Whetstone Goods, check them out on their socials posted on screen now, or check out our website from the link in the description, where we'll have all of their social media and a small write-up. If you're interested, also please consider making a donation to us on our website so we can continue to spread joy and creativity within our community with the power of arts. That's a wrap on this episode, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll see you next time.